Hello everyone and welcome back to learning the Trigify fundamentals. Today we're going to be going over how you can create your own custom signals using the create signal node inside of the workflow tool. So let's dive in. So I pulled open a workflow that I built, which is essentially monitoring brand sentiment. So I'll run you through the workflow quickly before we dive into the signal. So here we just have a search set up where we're monitoring any new posts around any particular search that we would want up and running. From within here, we then have a sentiment agent asking, is Trigify mentioned positively in this post? Even if the post itself is generally negative, then we have a true or false if variable before we go and create what we call a positive signal. And then we also have the option here to create a negative signal if obviously not. So what is signal? Well, to get signal, you would come into here and you would search for this option here, which is configure signal. Configure signal effectively gives you the ability to say, okay, hey, this has happened within the workflows. Think of it as this is the end to your workflow, or this is a point in your workflow that you want to set in stone as like, okay, hey, this has happened. And so in this case, I'm saying, okay, hey, there's been a positive mention here and there's also been a negative mention here, if that is the case. When it comes to configuring a sentiment, a signal, you have the option to configure the signal name. That's obviously very important. Then you have the description. One thing to mention is you can actually use variables here. So you can do / and you could put in any elements from the previous step. So if I go over and have a look at my negative one here, I have the description here, which is you've been mentioned negatively, post URL, here's the post URL, and here's the summary from this summary agent that I have here. Then you can start to set things such as, signal icons, the severity of it, and the signal category as well. Now, what's going to happen is as the signal gets created, you're actually going to be able to see per workflow the different signals that each individual workflow has contained. So what I mean by this is if I had another workflow set up that was using other signal sections, I wouldn't be able to see the signals from this workflow in that one. It's only pertained to that particular automation. And then I can click in and I can actually get a description and I can see, okay, what was it? The category was marketing. Here was the Trigify was mentioned positively, and this was on October 22nd. At 9:23 a.m. Now, what can we do from here? Well, if we go back to the triggers, you will notice that we also have the option to create a signal based on a signal created. So maybe if I go and create a new one here, and I'm just going to say test. There we go. So you can actually see now that I have two different workflows where I have two different signals created. And we have this one here, which is the brand sentiment tracking, which is the one that we were just looking at. So from here, what I can do is I could use an agent to have any various different things, and then I can actually run plays off the back of this. So what this could look like, for example, is if a trigger comes through and the trigger is negative, I might want to structure a report and send that report either via email or via Slack to a subset of groups. So signals can trigger other automations, and effectively what you then can start to do is chain various automations together based on what things were triggered. So I could add an if node here, and if the department was marketing, do this, this, and this. If the department was sales, if the severity was this, etc., etc. And that then allows you to build customized workflows off the back of custom signals. And remember, the signal doesn't just have to be around sentiment analysis. It could be around levels of intent. It could be around bugs. It could be around feature requests. It could be effective around anything that you wanted. And then you can build workflows off the back of there and avoid having a workflow that's too big. You can basically break it down into chunks and have a sub flow off the back of there.